in many ways, today became a sort of Groundhog's Day for me personally, as I found something resembling my shadow that marked the true beginning of a new era in the calendar. After taking about a month away from every piece of NFL news that I could possibly avoid, I a couple of days back, I turned on my push notifications for one Nate Taylor. Today, I went all the way to the peak of the NFL mountain. I turned on Adam Schefter's Twitter push notifications. Deebo Samuel got traded. I'm aware of that. Some little moves have happened here and there. I've seen those. The salary cap, oh, it's bubbling around. Up a dollar, down a dollar. The Cowboys did something. Certainly, that will fix their woes. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, the tampering period, just around the corner. The beginning of the new league year, so close I can taste it. And here in Kansas City, it's currently about 50 degrees, and tonight it's supposed to be a blizzard. So it really feels like it's the perfect concoction for NFL chaos!
Thanks for listening to KC Sports Network, proudly presented by Emprise Bank. If you're thinking about starting a business or know someone who is, check out Emprise Bank's SBA loans. It's always good to know your options, and they can be your partner in possible.
Nate Taylor's back in one piece from the Combine. Seth Keysor still in one piece, as far as I can tell, up there in Minnesota. I am Joshua Brisco here in an unseasonably warm and soon-to-be very seasonably frozen KC Mo. As fourth winter, folks, it's finally here. Seth, I know I know that you can win every winter conversation battle. You've pretty much got the best hand you can work with, as long as you're not a literal penguin. But the thing that we experience in here is the hope that kills you. We had like a week and a half of springtime, and it was delightful. And tonight it's supposed to snow.
That is, that's a thing that happens. You just got to be careful. You guys have had a harsh winter, relatively speaking, and that's a bummer. That's a bummer. We've actually, it's been unseasonably warm here. It was 50 degrees yesterday.
Come on.
And then it went,
really?
Then it went down to 33. Yeah, it's been incredible. So no, it really is the hope that kills you. In Minnesota, we understand that everything before mid-April is pretend.
Yeah.
It's not real. It is like it's like I don't know, a limit that's set on cash spending by a team. It looks real. It's claiming to be real, but it doesn't have to be real. It's only real if you make it real. And
that brings us to our first topic on today's show, which is you can go ahead and go to the next one on the rundowns, Tucker. Seth Keysor believes that Clark Hunt controls the weather. Now, Seth, I know you've really been working on this. I was surprised to read it in the Chiefs of the North newsletter.
Come on, man.
No misrepresentation?
No, let's do it.
Nate, it's just good to see you. I don't know how much shrimp cocktail, how many steaks, and how many drinks you consume, but I'm just... You look at least about as vital as you did when we talked to you last week, and for that, I'm grateful.
I'm really sorry. Levi Massey just commented, it's like a badly thought through simile, which is so funny. That was terrific.
Yeah.
Man, that was a great comment. Oh man, past Luke comments, Shamrock Shake back at McDonald's season. Look,
what?
Commenters, you got to stop being so great. And also, I got to go get a Shamrock Shake. You guys are incredibly lucky or unlucky, depending on your point of view, that I'm going to stick around for the next hour to do this, because Shamrock Shake being back is big news, people. Like, that is the best thing about March and April. And you got to remember, that contains my birthday and the resurrection of my Lord and Savior. And I still think that Shamrock Shake's the best part of it.
I would like to see if we could get Seth's Shamrock Shake rim dusted in some Adderall or something, because he keeps blaming commenters for choices he's making.
Hey Seth, do you put Oreos in them bad boy? Put Oreo in it.
I'm not a savage, Nate. Of course I do.
Yeah, that's like, okay.
I guess this year they're doing like an Oreo Shamrock Shake / McFlurry thing.
Okay. Just crumple them things in there. Sprinkle them in there. So, yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, what can I tell you over the last weekend or so? It was nice to know that I did not have to, I was not on my phone when Debo Samuel got traded, guys. I did not. His name had kind of floated and popped around. In the event that the 49ers are actually going to play, they're actually going to pay Brock Purdy. Um, in the event that occurs, so hey, keep everything available in terms of avenues. It was nice to know that the Chiefs made a decision that I told you was not going to happen, ladies and gentlemen. Literally, as I'm going through security in Indianapolis's airport. Now, I will give you a lot of backstory on it, a lot of
You know what? Seth,
understanding.
I don't think we have to be here for this. And now Nate doesn't even know this. I have some of the back end levers that I can pull during the show now.
Sure.
And so Nate, since you brought it up, what happened with the franchise tag? And go ahead, you can take it from here.
This is one of those times, kids, where you have to understand that. Beautiful job, Tucker. Wow, what a spotlight.
I did this. Tucker doesn't want this credit.
So sometimes you're told that, hey, this isn't going to happen for a number of these reasons. And I've always said, and I think I've tried to be forthright and honest with you guys, that that I'm mostly projecting based on the information that I have and the conversations I've amassed, and trying to give you reasonable context as to why a decision will likely be made. Now, I said that there's no way in the world any team, let alone the Chiefs, any team would franchise tag a guard. Are you out of your mind? But what I also heard throughout this combine was how, and I mean, it's the cat's kind of out of the bag now, but this is a weakened, less than stellar, non-sexy free agency year. There are no quarterbacks outside of Sam Darnold. No one wants to talk to Aaron Rodgers, even though you kind of have to do your due diligence. And T. Higgins is getting franchise tag, which I think most people knew, even though that's not a wise decision. And we've said this before. There was a number of teams that were circling Trey Smith on their big board for free agency. So the plan, as I reported, is not to franchise tag him with the advantageous nature of trying to trade him for, like, say, one or two multiple free picks. But also Trey Smith, and I think you even said this in the last episode, Josh, like, Trey Smith is not the problem. But you are putting yourself, and this is why I didn't think they were going to use a franchise tag anyway. As Seth has said before, it ties up all the money. You cannot use it. It's $23 million. It's kind of unprecedented for a guard. When you look at the AAV, the average annual salary for a player at that position, that is left tackle money. That is not right guard money. So you've put yourself with a cap, but you've also put yourself under a deadline because, yes, you could technically take this to about mid-July, right before training camp. No one would. No one should. Not even the Cincinnati Bengals and T. Higgins. They should figure it out well before then. If you want to be a player or free agent, which the Chiefs would like to be a player in the, and I hope this makes sense, in the bottom top ring of the market and the higher mid-tier of the market, you kind of need that money. So I believe, as of right now, I might be working over the weekend because, as we all know, when does free agency truly start? It's next Monday. And the Chiefs, if they want to be consistent in their thought process, need to sign Trey Smith to a long-term deal sooner rather than later. But for all those reasons, I thought they wouldn't franchise tag him. Again, based on the things I had heard before that. But the decision was made. But again, this is where it gets diabolical. We're not even going to let you get to free agency. We're not even going to let you test free agency, but also we are going to do it in a manner
to protect the shield
that prevents you from seeing what your true value is, while also saying, I guess we're putting ourselves on a baseline and a deadline as to what your contract would look like in a 4 to 5 year deal. And you better iron that out Thursday or Friday. And if it gets to Saturday, then ooh, buddy, that's not great.
When's the legal tampering period begin? The 10th, right?
Yeah.
Monday.
Boy, do I have like 3 articles to write before then.
I will get it for you. I think it's Monday, basically 10 a.m. local time, 11 a.m. Eastern time, but I will quickly double check that.
Sure. And then because the legal tampering period, let's face it, that's when a lot of these things really do come out.
Correct.
And it's just kind of usually most of the times you don't get, although like once a year, it feels like we get one where it's like they had a deal, then someone else swooped and
excuse me. It is noon Eastern on March 10th, Monday. And so it will be 11 a.m. Central time on Monday.
That sounds like it's during the workday.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I feel bad for people that have really, strict rules.
Let's go ahead and take a break, actually. Let's do that. We could do that now.
Shop Chiefs tickets and more with no fees. Plus, save big with code KCSN at ticketsforless.com, the official ticket provider of KC Sports Network.
Success in real estate takes more than vision. It takes the right financial partner. When someone takes something rundown and turns it into something great, that's called a comeback story. Like Bryan Group. They take distressed properties here in KC, completely rework them, and then turn them into valuable real estate. But that kind of work needs the right bank behind it. Enter Emprise Bank. They're not about cookie-cutter loans. They saw Bryan Group's vision, backed them, and now they're making big moves in Kansas City real estate. Talk about your partner in possible. Emprise doesn't do one-size-fits-all financing. They invest in potential and back growth. Visit emprisebank.com/KC to learn more. Emprise Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
Hey, by the way, as we do get closer to all of these breaking news moments around the Kansas City Chiefs, we will have breaking news teams shows right here on KC Sports Network. I think anywhere you're watching or listening to this show, you will also be able to watch or listen to the breaking news team shows. We'll go live on KCSN Social, specifically the YouTube channel, just a great place for going live. Tucker will put on a blazer, and some combination of us here at KCSN will hop on live and talk about Hollywood Brown, like we did last year, perhaps. As that one was memorable for me. It was late at night, and we all had a very good time. And then he did not play a regular season snap until week 16 or whatever it was. So we're gonna hope for better results, but it'll be just as good of a product, if not better. Breaking news team as the news comes and goes throughout the offseason. Yes, Nate.
Basically, this is mostly for people who are watching in the comments. Does everything I just said make sense? Because
you can't ask for positive affirmation mid-podcast.
No.
I'm calling foul.
I'm just saying in terms of...
I'm calling the pot on Seth there.
Yeah, exactly. So I just want to say, hopefully that makes sense. It is a change in the thought process as to what they were going to do. You have multiple avenues. You have multiple, options at your disposal. And we've already talked about the franchise tag, which is great. And also, this is what they have chosen. They feel like, much like most places out there, that Trey Smith is a top free agent. If you actually thought he was going to get to free agent, and this is the route they've chosen. And I think this also informs you that Clark Hunt is a little bit more nimble than maybe people suggest in terms of changing of plans. So if you do this, you better be right. Now, I do know CAA, who represents Mr. Smith, was quite present at the combine when it comes to Chiefs membership.
Nate,
So
I'm gonna or Seth.
You can put those two things together.
Seth, I want you to be the more direct audience to Nate's sort of self-diagnosing question there of does that make sense? Because as you referred to this a little bit earlier, and you and I talked about this a decent amount on Thursday. We'll get to the Cash and the Clark Hunt of it all because that you wrote about that in the newsletter. We're going to make that a full standalone thing here a little bit later on. But within Nate's sort of retelling of the plan of here's how the Chiefs ended up here, here's where these deadlines all line up with the decisions being made right now,
and that doesn't change the fact that Trey Smith wants to be with the Chiefs. So
yes,
just make that clear as well. It's not like this changes the players' sense in a bit. So Trey Smith still wants to be with the Chiefs.
And so with all of that in mind, then Seth, I'm going to ask you. Does that make sense to you? And in within that kind of explanation, is there anything else that we need Nate to expand on in terms of, again, the vision from the Chiefs side here? Because the comments have caught on. They caught on Thursday. All weekend was like this. Was where Chiefs fans realizing, well, there's only so much money they're going to spend on the offensive line, and we are nearing pretty close to critical mass already, and there's not a left tackle who the Chiefs wanted to play last year currently on this roster. So where does that leave you, Seth?
It leaves me, excuse me, it leaves me in the same place that I was at largely Tuesday. What Nate's saying makes sense in that I understand the words and I understand the point that's being made. I learned that one from Jazz. True story. I was like explaining why I was mad at her, and we were like, bickering about something. I don't know what it was. I was probably right. And I said some version to her, like I explained my point of view, I'm sure very thoroughly.
I'm sorry.
And cogently. And then I said, does that make sense? Do you know what I mean? And she looks me dead in my eyeball and she goes, I understand the words you are saying. Yes. And I was like, oh, okay. So this fight is not over. Like, this is like, whoa,
I'm not having a comprehension problem.
Yeah. No, I understand the words you're saying. Yeah. The comprehension is there. You're just wrong. And that's how that went. And so, I understand the Chiefs are treating Trey Smith like a foundational piece.
He wasn't even in our core 9.
Core 10. Core 10.
Yeah.
Core 10.
I mean, we're going to get up to 12 here pretty soon, Josh. Core 12.
Yeah. So I guess for me, I understand where they're coming from. Trey Smith is probably the best offensive lineman on the market.
He is.
And I get that in that sense. I get
go
that
ahead and interject
Andy
and say that if there was a young, dominant run blocking guard who had some warts in pass protection, no Chiefs fan would be talking about paying that guy $25 million after he finished his rookie contract with the Titans.
And warts are a bit of an exaggeration. It's a
problems. Would you say problems?
Imperfections.
Because problems was the word in the Chief in the North newsletter last week. Was problems.
Yeah. Well, the problem is that he's not elite as a pass blocker. And paying someone who's not elite as a pass blocker elite money, to me,
what word should I have used, Seth? That would have meant not elite, but not
so good.
Warts.
What are we in the group text again?
Yep.
Good Lord!
I got him right up here. I got him right ready.
I'm
ready to go.
agreeing with Seth wrong, and I'm trying to figure out what you want me to say. What does Jazz say in these moments, Seth? This is when I really need her wisdom.
Here she says you have a problem and need to talk to someone. Oh no, wait, not that.
You don't listen when I tell you that either. So,
No, but you are right. Like in terms of some words, you're getting to the general.
He's got
gist,
some pimples.
You're getting to the aura of what I'm saying. I always just try to be so specific because I've just seen in my many, many years, turned 40 on Sunday. By the way, thanks for the text.
Thanks for the invite.
Because I text you guys on your birthday so frequently. I'm great about that.
Hey, chat. Could we please get an absolute hype train going of happy 40th birthday, Seth?
Do you want to know where?
Let's really make sure. Don't just say happy birthday. Make sure you because I feel, Seth, I did not text you on your 40th birthday. I feel
happy
terrible.
Birthday. I love
Seth,
you.
happy 40th birthday. I'm very sorry for not communicating with you on your birthday. I do feel really bad about that. And so if we could just have everyone in the chat wishing Seth Keysor a happy 40th birthday now, please.
So are you trying to tell me? Are you trying to get me to tell you where I was on Sunday? Because that's not what you asked. Okay, the people are gonna find out one way or the other.
Christian says, "I thought Seth was 45."
This is going.
Do you want to know where I was on Sunday?
Where were you Sunday, Nathaniel?
Tucker, can I show the picture now or later?
Dave says Seth is the same age as LeBron.
One of many similarities.
Yep, all-time greats.
Yes. If Tucker gives you permission, I want to see the picture. Oh,
look at that. That is if you're just listening, this is Nate and Holly presumably somewhere not being online, not texting people, not looking at news on your phone.
And that's fair.
The water behind you?
Water.
Sunshine.
So, all right. Here's the long and short of it.
Got a
Trey
nice comment here from Morgan, who says he's old enough to be my dad. Thank you, Morgan.
Thank you for that, Morgan.
Paz says, Seth, what was the moon landing like?
Happy birthday, Seth.
Oh, it's cute. You guys think the moon landing was real.
It's cute that anyone thinks that Seth thinks the moon landing was real.
Yeah. It's probably there with the dinosaurs. Anyway, so no, I'm stopping this. That's my fault. This is on
Seth,
me.
Congratulations on turning 10% of the age of the universe.
So, anywho,
I love you too, buddy. I love you too.
I love you guys. Here. So the issue, as Josh was alluding to, the problem is he's not an elite. Trey Smith, at least throughout his career so far, not an elite pass protector. Really good run blocker, elite run blocker. The Newt Rockney was incredible. Thank you, Nate Dogg. I hate you all. So
you asked for this.
And we've talked about that. Yeah, I did ask for this. This is my problem. So that's the ultimate issue there. The issue to me is doubly so here, though. Like, if they wanted to make Trey Smith the highest paid guard in the league, I wouldn't. It's like I wrote in the article. Like, I'm not going to scream about it. It's not the route I would go, considering the way the rest of the team is built. But what I'm guessing they're thinking here is, look, Joe Tooney's contract's going to be off the books before this contract becomes big. Jawan Taylor's contract is going to be off the books before this contract becomes big. That would be the theory. You're layering contracts so you can get away with it, because just because something is, $23 million per year doesn't mean it's $23 million every year. That's one way of viewing it. However, doing it in a way that potentially robs you of all flexibility during free agency in a year where you're losing so many snaps. And that's what I'm writing about right now is in-house free agents. When you look, you have, I want to make sure I get this right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You have 8 players hitting free agency who saw 40% or more of the snaps last year. You also, in addition to that, you've got, a 36.9%, 30%, 30%, 29%, which is 30%. I don't know why I stopped rounding. You're losing snaps. So you're going to have to replace those snaps. Now, some of that you're going to do in-house. Some of those snaps, it's not like I'm not out here saying Juju Smith-Schuster saw 36% of the snaps. What are they going to do? That's not what I mean. But they are losing people in terms of, Justin Reed in all likelihood, Nick Bolton in all likelihood, maybe Tershawn Wharton. Did y'all see that defensive tackle contract that got handed out today? He's big. He's very big.
Well, when did the Cowboys ever not pay one of their own stars?
Yeah. Justin.
One time, by the way.
Yeah, seriously. Before
on time. I was like, a deal on time, and it's not Micah. What are we doing, Harry?
So you're replacing a bunch of snaps. You need some flexibility. And some of that flexibility is 1-year deals. And for 1-year deals, you can't really fiddle fart around with the cap very much. You have to actually. That's right. I'm saying fiddle fart now. I'm having a hootenanny and a good old time. It's a knee slapper over here. I am officially approaching midlife. I don't know how old. Oh, Ms. Brisco. You know what? It's always a pleasure to hear from you. I will come to Florida.
Seth, you just turned 40. If you think you're approaching midlife, I hope you have some real big life changes planned.
So
That felt unnecessary.
so
Man, whoa. I thought there were limits to that.
so
So
you're so what you're trying to say is, and I just want to make this very clear because are you comfortable backloading some of that money? Could you give maybe a lot of signing bonus? Cut a check.
Yes.
Stretch that thing out.
and you could do that, and I think
And-
Almighty God of the podcast, if we could go to that third thing. This
I
is
don't.
where
I
it
haven't
becomes
figured out how to
important.
do that yet. So that you are addressing
Mhm.
Tucker still. I don't. I
Oh,
haven't figured out how to do those.
Well, yeah, Tucker, if we could look at the cash spending versus cap
Oh,
maneuvering.
the fourth
that-
thing.
Yes. Oh, yeah, because welcome is a thing. Sorry.
Well, that's okay. We're gonna.
Hello.
Nate can give us his nuggets later. You should.
In
you
a
should talk
minute.
about
In
this
a
now.
minute. In a
Yeah,
minute.
no, this is good. This is a good segue.
All I'm saying is, hey Clark, we are starting him technically at 23 million, right? Right? Is that right? How much of that are we sure that the core foundation is Creed Humphrey and Trey Smith? If that is the case, what Seth just said a few minutes ago is entirely accurate.
Mm-hmm.
So, as I texted you fellas, and this has remained somewhat interesting because it's I'm gonna give you a little bit of both. I'm gonna dip a nugget in cash spending ranch for Seth. Now, what if we're not gonna go as high as 24 million a year per the deal? But let's say that fourth year, that fifth year, it's all funny money. It's all balloons and stars and starfish. You're never going to touch that money, but you will give a nice signing bonus. And what if I dip this nugget to where if you guys are worried about what the Los Angeles Rams just gave to their core left tackle member who did not reach free agency, what in the hell's going to happen to Ronnie Stanley's market? Go ahead, Seth.
And that's an important thing to keep in mind. Here's the issue. So Ronnie Stanley's market, who knows what'll happen with that? Who knows what'll happen with DJ Humphries? Who knows kind of, what some of these things are. But the lack of flexibility that you find if you utilize the franchise tag, that means that you have to do some games with the salary cap just to get to the point where you can really do much of anything. That's why when people say, well, this is being done to give them time to come to an agreement, you don't want that time because that time matters, because during that time, this is not a run it back off season.
Nope.
You've got a roster that's solid, good even, but you do have flaws in it and they have to be addressed. This is not a let's keep the band together off season. This is we're losing some of the band. Some of it doesn't matter that much. Some of it really does. You have to be able to replenish that. And that's where, to me, like what Nate's saying about this weekend being the time, this is something I personally think putting the tag on him in a weird way. The tag is designed to give teams leverage. In this particular case, I don't know that it really did. Because
only to tell other teams stop sniffing. Find
Yeah.
something else. Go somewhere
leave him
else.
alone.
Leave him alone. Stop calling him, okay? We
Yeah.
get it. He's really good. We knew that already.
Yeah.
You know what? We'll put the tag on him if we have to.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that I talked about Tuesday still applies to all of it. The overarching plan is a confusing one to me. So this is where what Nate is talking about, like a signing bonus, that kind of stuff. This is where you could get creative with Trey Smith's contract if you want. However, you can get creative with all sorts of things. The Chiefs could, if they wanted to, sign Trey Smith to a giant extension, extend Joe Thuney a couple of years, sign Ronnie Stanley for a decent deal, bring back Charles Omenihu, bring back Tershawn Wharton, pay a wide receiver. They could do all of those things. Don't ever let anyone tell you, oh, they couldn't do that. They'd have to mortgage their whole future. No, they wouldn't. They would not. You keep drafting well and you have Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid, your future is not mortgaged. That's it. You can do all those things, but you have to be willing to spend cash, and you have to be willing to spend.
Cut them checks.
Yes. And that's where last year, and I wrote about this on the Chief of the North newsletter, last year the Chiefs were 9th in cash spending. So cash spending versus cap spending. And you know what? I'm actually going to pull this up because this is one of the very best explanations of this that I've ever seen.
The Reddit one? Do you want me to just read it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cap value is how much a player costs against the cap in a given year. Cash is the actual dollar amount the player will receive in a given year.
Yes.
And so that's really that simple. I am handing you this physical check right now for $20 million, and then you're going to go cash it because no one doesn't cash a $20 million check. Maybe, by the way, don't cash it. Put it somewhere.
Deposit it, maybe.
Yeah, maybe deposit it.
Or
I don't know what kind of duffel bag Seth's got.
put it in
And so that's where well, I wouldn't celebrate too quickly in the comments. Todd Barton, cheap Hunt. That's literally the only time he's been above average in the Patrick Mahomes era. So let's not don't spike the football at the 1 yard line, Todd.
Yes.
So
yes, because that's what. By the way, that's what y'all wanted for a 3-peat. He actually went above his normal cash spending.
Yep, absolutely. So cap space is a very different thing. If I were to hand Josh a $20 million signing bonus today, that's $20 million cash, $5 million or $4 million because it's a 5-year thing.
Yeah.
$4 million cap. But that means next year, Josh still counts $4 million against cap, but I'm not handing him any more cash. Oh, look at my piggy bank. It's still just as full. This is wonderful. Look how full my piggy bank is. And so your piggy bank gets more empty when you are spending cash. And here's where the Chiefs have ranked in cash spending each and every year in the Patrick Mahomes era.
Would you like me to read it for you?
Yes, please do.
Ooh.
So last year they were 9th, as you said, overachieving.
Hey, you know what? For a small market team, that's really good. We're pretty good.
2023, 20th. 2022, 22nd. 2021, 17th. 2020, 25th. 2019, 27th. 2018, 18th.
So there's a few different things to take into account here. For one, I've shown in previous shows, I am more than willing to. Well, gosh, the comments are mean today.
Sorry, this one from Sco says, I'm new here. I love the show. Who's the old guy in the middle?
We had a much younger guy on last week, but he died. And so now it's just me. So here's the thing to keep in mind. I am not saying Clark Hunt is cheap. The Chiefs are a small market team. Their revenue, even though, so the bulk of NFL teams' money comes from television deals. That's split evenly among everyone. Yes. Then you've got jersey sales, ticket sales. The Chiefs don't make as much money from ticket sales as a bunch of other teams because they don't charge as much because of the market they're in and a number of other factors. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Things that will be amended within the next 10 years.
Right. Those prices are going to be just absolutely absurd. So here's where it is a business. I'm never going to be someone that says, hey, you have to spend money in your business until your profit is non-existent. That's dumb. That's not why people own businesses. I get that. But they do have a healthy profit margin. How much you're willing to cut into that is your call. You own the business. That's your call. However, if you're selling yourself as more than a business, then that matters. If you're saying we are doing everything we can to win Super Bowls, then that matters. Now, here's the long and short of it. Do I think the Chiefs should be spending gobs in cash to kick the can down the road every year? No, that's not a good business model. You can look at cash spending doesn't necessarily correlate with winning. However, it does correlate with flexibility year in and year out. And that's where I'm saying the cash spending, if this year, like last year, like for example, let's say they got together as the season was ending and they were like, I don't love the way this ended. We had a good competitive year. Hey, I see the way my willingness to spend a little more cash affected us in a positive way. It gave us more flexibility. Great. Then let's do that. So from here on out, we'll be, we'll hover around the top 10 in cash spending. Great, because that would mean this year they would have the flexibility to do it. I see a bunch of people in the comments. Clark isn't the sole owner. The family is. Look me in my eyeball here. Clark Hunt's family is not stopping him from doing literally anything with this team. Ever. Never, ever. Nope, not that. Not what you just thought of. Nope, not that either. Never, ever, 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 ever.
I think you're replying to the wrong thing there. I think because that was in the midst of a conversation about how Clark Hunt is not the entire family.
Correct.
He's an individual, not the entire family.
Right.
He runs
Which is sort of true, but
yes,
I would just
he is
like
the
to go ahead
principal
and
owner. Yes, we can.
Yes, I'd like to state for the record that the Hunt family has plenty, that the Hunt family and Clark and everyone involved with the Kansas City Football Chiefs has plenty of money to keep spending around 9th in the league. I don't think any of that conversation needs to be quite as frisky as it's gotten in the chat.
Now here's an organization.
This is a wealthy family and a wealthy man. They own
also
sports teams aren't just like a business. It's
and that doesn't mean they're required. Oh, just because you have money means you have to spend it. Absolutely not. What I'm pointing out here is having a certain cash budget, which is good business. I acknowledge that.
Mm-hmm.
Someone just commented, Seth, I understand the words you're saying.
Thank you, Nathan.
Comments are on fire. So Nate, go ahead.
The only thing I will say too is this is a philosophical evolution over time during the Andy Reid era. Obviously, a midpoint in that is the Patrick Mahomes era starting. But the Chiefs and Clark Hunt understand too that yes, cash spending is one thing. What is not tapped, what is not capped, what is not easily findable and ranked is what are you paying your staff? What are you paying your coaches?
And Hunt pays his coaches really well.
And there you
There's
go.
Not a debate about that.
Andy
Pays
Reid,
his coaches well.
Andy Reid last year, all intents and purposes, I believe, because it was Sean Payton the year before, and then I believe last year, I don't know all the details about the contracts of these new head coaches of this current cycle, but I still think, as of last year, Andy Reid was the highest paid head coach. Steve Spagnuolo was one of the highest paid defensive coordinators. So
absolutely.
There's that, and in a sense, that is a philosophy because that was not the case pre-Andy Reid. And of course, Clark was a younger, newer owner at the time, trying to understand how he was going to operate things from the top down. It obviously helps when you have a Hall of Fame coach and you've figured out the structure that you want from an organizational standpoint with, yes, these are core 9 members: Andy Reid, Brett Veach, Mark Donovan.
I would say that on the Clark Hunt credit conversation, I would also just note that the refusal to do that, the refusal to make Andy Reid or Steve Spagnuolo the highest paid member of their respective professions would be terrible mismanagement and a scandal of which we have not discussed in ages.
But also,
he has done the right thing by paying the hottest head coach and the winningest defensive coordinator in football.
Yes.
I'm not saying he got his arm twisted into it either, but
right. But I also want to make it clear too that it took back-to-back championships for their contracts to be renewed and given out again to obviously put them where they are now. You could also say, well, yes, the Clark Hunt or the Hunt family has X amount of money, and ladies and gentlemen, I'm here to tell you, because I will never forget, that they asked you for $500 million and they were going to invest $300 million. This is about, not a new stadium, a renovated Arrowhead Stadium.
That was for parking lots and suite boxes.
So multiple things can be very true, right?
Yes.
They have the money to spend. The front office and the coaching staff squeeze as much of the Clark Hunt juice as you could last year in terms of cash spending. Okay. And then the Hunt family, and Clark was very particular about this. The Hunt family was willing to invest $300 million into a stadium that is outdated. And they were asking you, the county at the time, $500 million to keep that building afloat for at least another 20 to 25 years. So these are the facts, and I'm here to present them to you because I remember everything.
On that note, I wonder if Seth remembered that we have to take another timeout. We'll do that. We'll take a break, come back, and we're going to get Nate's Nuggets.
Maybe. Who knows?
Thanks for listening to KC Sports Network. Make sure you download our new app. Find it on the App Store or Google Play. Just search KC Sports Network. Entertain, educate, inform. KC Sports Network.
All right, Nate, we talked about Trey Smith a whole bunch. I want to know what else you learned in Indianapolis. I want names. I want agents. I want contracts that will be signed in 6 days. Or really just kind of a vibe check on a few of these potentially departing Chiefs. Is there any names that have been maybe a little bit hotter at the combine than you were expecting? Names that were a little cooler? Okay. I don't know what you got that you're going to bring to us here, but I want to know about your Nugs.
And we're gonna get a nice, like, if this was a jazz band, we'd get a nice solo from Tucker D. Franklin. If we were on a track, obviously Tucker D. Franklin's getting the last 16 bars to take us home because he has his own nugget, which I'm not gonna refute. I just want everybody to know about it because he got a nugget that, like, interesting. So look,
Tucker D. Franklin, and the D stands for definitely got one exclusive nug.
Got a nugget for you. All right, the combine was fun. I behaved myself in a very professional manner. It's not like previous years in the past where some of the agents that you're working with are of a different background. I know Josh knows exactly who I'm talking about. We do not need to mention them. We need to just move forward. Okay. So, as I've told you, go ahead and salute Justin Reed. I don't think that's going to change. When it comes to Nick Bolton, this is where it's going to get fascinating because I think what you're seeing over the last 3 or 4 days is it's pretty good pretty good linebackers in this draft class. Pretty good. So you tell me some guys who can move in space, maybe not as good of a tackler, because obviously tackling at the NFL level kind of needs to be proven at the NFL level. But hey, that's a pretty good linebacker. The receiving market and the linebacker market might get squished a little bit due to the draft class. Now, this is not a great receiver draft class, but you could have traits that you can identify in the first 2 to 3 rounds. Did you just say no to Justin Reed? Yes, salute him. He's gone. Don't look back. It's not happening. I don't want to say these things definitively, but that's pretty much what I've surmised from this. When it comes to Charles Omenihu, he would like to be noticed on day 1 of free agency.
Yeah, I bet.
I don't know if that's gonna happen. Why? What? I'm sorry, Seth. Did I surprise you?
No, it's not that. Josh is quiet, like, I'll bet. Just like off in the distance.
I bet he would. I'd say it's going to be a busy time. I don't know.
Here's the unfortunate thing for Charles Omenihu that he's got to overcome, right?
Mm-hmm.
He had half a season last year, played really well, really well.
Mm-hmm.
Got hurt at the worst possible time to get hurt,
Yeah. While playing great, by the way.
Well, playing great football.
Mm-hmm.
Came back this year, played well, clearly was still coming back from the injury a little. And so that puts you in a tough spot with teams because one of the things that's been a quiet non-story because of how everything went down in the Super Bowl is that people aren't remembering just how little pressure there was on Hurts when he dropped back. You had Chris Jones doing something or nothing happened. And to be fair to the defense, the entire second half, I don't put on them. Look, they held the line as long as they could. They really did. But that's just, it's something
Seth, what I think is really important to note isn't just that they struggled to get pressure in the last game of the season. A lot of people will overreact to the last game of a sample size, But I
Right.
really think it's more important to look back over the entirety of the season when that front four really struggled to get pressure.
No, that's a really terrific point, and I appreciate you adding to that to make my point better. The book of Proverbs really tells us that only a fool would not enjoy.
So Nick Bolton, what do
having
you
their
think?
stuff
Where do you think that market? Hold on, wrong button. There we go. Okay, Seth's muted. Sorry, it'll take me a little bit of time to get used to the.
So look, I want Tucker D. Franklin to tell me what he told us. I really want him to tell the audience because that's just the way these things work, And I'm not saying I got the exact same thing, but it doesn't surprise me. I mean, any player could ask for anything. I mean,
can sources
anything.
confirm? Can sources say that
Go
the
ahead.
sourcing is
Go
plausible?
ahead, Tucker. Go ahead. Put it out there.
I don't think Tucker. Oh,
Tucker
listen,
says he doesn't want
I
to
can
do
put
it.
Tucker on screen. I don't think Tucker wants this.
I'm not sharing that nugget. LOL. Okay. All right. Cool. All right, Tucker. Well, just know that he'll be right when that news happens.
He says Aaron Rodgers wants to play with Andy Reid. I don't know what to tell you about that. I don't know how that came up. I don't know why Tucker knows that.
Look,
who doesn't? So
look, I'll just be fair to Nick Bolton. Nick Bolton believes he's valuable.
Well, we're all inherently valuable, Nate.
Is he more valuable than Charles Omenihu? I don't know, but you can go back.
I do. He's not.
Yeah.
Okay.
2 votes.
You're welcome.
Man,
No, Nate. I'm doing this here. I'm just going to. Nick Bolton
I'm
is
so
valuable.
sorry, Tucker.
Nick Bolton is valuable. He's a solid backer. He does some things really well. We've talked about this a ton. He's not more valuable than Charles Omenihu is to the Chiefs, particularly healthy Charles Omenihu, which he clearly wasn't at quite 100%
on day one of free agency on Monday.
Yeah, on day one of free agency. If you were to tell me,
call it, Seth?
If I've got to choose, I'm calling. Okay, you know what? I'm just going to do it.
Yeah, I'm asking.
I'm calling Turk Wharton before I call Nick Bolton. Because
Let's go. Here we go. All right. Spice
because
this
I think
baby
you
up.
can. I think you
Jackie
can get
Battle
Wharton
before Nick
for
Bolton.
cheaper
Let's
than
go.
Bolton, and I think he adds about as much. I think Drew Tranquil is a perfectly fine Mike linebacker. I think Leo Chenal can slide into a certain role. And look, there's an incredibly athletic Will who's hitting free agency named Willie Gay Jr., who played awesome the last time he was with the Chiefs.
And don't look, kids. I'm trying to inform you as best I can, and don't forget there are some talented linebackers in this draft class.
Yes,
based on what we saw at the combine. Does it back up the tape? Does it help you evaluate the tape a little bit better? I know the guys at the lab will do that on our behalf, but I'm just saying, some nice linebackers in this draft class.
Nate, if we were going to dissect the word talented,
Mm-hmm.
how many times would that word correlate with cerebral, and how many times would that word correlate with athletic for this draft class?
Ooh, good question. It's hard to say.
If they're gonna look, Nate, if you're trying to, Seth is confused. Here's what I'm saying.
No,
if you're telling me the Chiefs are
exactly
gonna,
what you're doing, as do I. I could just handle it better because I know who I am.
True. That's true.
It's hard to understand the mechanics, the instincts, the mental acuity that a football player can have. And Nick Bolton, all pro at that. We all
absolutely.
know that.
Yep. I mean, so is Andy Reid, but I'm not asking him to play on the line.
Athletic traits of this draft class will be interesting because you might find some people in the second and third rounds who can be, I won't say difference makers, but can be nice contributors in their rookie and second season. That could help mitigate you losing a green dot, durable, cerebral, on-time tackling machine that is Nick Bolton. The question that this really comes down to, and I hate to put it in these words because this is the questions that I was asking last week in Indianapolis. Do we as a society, as a football culture, as an industry, do we value tackling?
I think so.
Because if
yes,
you value tackling, Nick Bolton will have a market.
Oh, 1,000,000%. And he should have a market.
Yes. But if you're valuing traits, scheme, the fact that it's a passing league, yes, that as Chiefer 65 toss power trap just told us, it's a passing league. That's where the breakdown comes through. So again,
Can you run down Brock Purdy in a foot race to the sideline?
That's an athleticism question.
Sometimes it really is simple. And look, Nick Bolton wants to come back and be a Chief for $7 million a year. I would be thrilled.
I don't think he wants to come back for $7 million a year, kids.
Okay. Then thank you for your service. Remember that time when you missed a bunch of time and the defense didn't get that much worse?
Was that 17 that I just heard? Was that 17 million? Oh, okay. Oh, okay. I thought it was. Seth heard 7. I heard 17. You find the difference, ladies and gentlemen.
And you know what? With a guy like Nick Bolton, who there might be it's going to be system dependent. There's lots of rationales. Coaches are going to love him when they interview him. He does add something to your defense. There might be other defenses that maybe need him more in some senses.
You can make that argument.
Because one thing I will tell you, if Drew Tranquil didn't exist, this is probably a different conversation.
Which is why they paid Drew Tranquil last year.
Yep, and they paid him a pretty reasonable contract. And so it all becomes this it's tough because you always talk about people like they're trash or they're great or whatever. And I feel bad for that in terms of the whole Nick Bolton thing. I'm partly just embracing this. But one of the reasons why I would call Turk Wharton first if I'm the Chiefs is the Chiefs don't have any defensive tackles. They have linebackers.
Outside of Chris Jones.
Yeah, it's like they've got Chris Jones and no one at defensive tackle. And Turk Wharton was solid last year. Hey, what do you want? I think there's a chance he might get priced out of what the Chiefs should pay him. Same analysis. I'm not saying him and Bolton are comparable players because Wharton is more of a rotational guy, fringe starter, and Bolton is a starting linebacker. So there's not the same level, but it's the same analysis in terms of there's got to be a limit here, and it's only if the cost is reasonable. So $17 million a year. You're talking $17 million a year. Like that's
saying, that's the range, kids. We might be look now.
$40 million for Trey Smith and Nick Bolton is the range.
And I'm saying the range is somewhere in the realm of 7 to 17, and it's a choose your adventure from those two numbers.
Absolutely. And so and here again. There's finite resources, and this is where to go back to the cash spending thing. Cash spending doesn't mean money goes away. Everything comes out of the cap eventually.
Correct.
You can fiddle around with it a ton, and what changes is the percentage. $5 million is a certain percentage of the cap now.
Yes.
$5 million used to be a much larger percentage of the cap. And that's one reason why this is so important. The salary cap in 2019, or let's go, Mahomes' first year starting was $177 million. This year, it's $279. When you kick the can to the future, it's not a fix-all. You can't do it for everything, but you can do it a fair amount because it becomes a tight number in the future in terms of percentages, which is all that matters in terms of cap. And so that's just something to keep in mind. They could pay Nick Bolton too. You eventually run out of runway. And how teams get themselves in trouble is paying elite money to average or a little above average players. Usually paying elite money to good players, you're going to be okay, depending on how good. But that's where you can really get yourself in trouble. Is like for example, with the Chiefs right now, Juwan Taylor, perfectly solid right tackle. Happy he's on the team. But that contract is tough. Frank Clark, his last couple of years with the Chiefs, perfectly fine player, but the contract makes it tough. So those are the things you got to balance it all out, but you can negate some of that with cash spending. So there's a lot going on here.
And we talked about this before. The Chiefs right now are in a position where they don't have to worry about dead money in future years.
Yes,
they would
huge.
They would like to keep that moving forward.
And dead money for people who are listening, that's when you're still getting hits against the cap for players that are no longer on your roster. It's a non-ideal circumstance.
Correct.
That's what void years do and that kind of stuff.
If I'm spending at the 9th highest degree in front of cash spending, we better be using all 9. We better be using all that money that got us up to 9 on the
someone
field.
Who's there. Yep.
On the field, not this dead money nonsense.
Yep.
That other teams have to work around. So if you're asking me, this is just This is how it works, kids. If you're asking me to up the budget, to up the cash spending, to try to maximize a certain window, I'm not increasing that just because so-and-so and so-and-so has already been cut and I got to pay them regardless, or that money's not going to help the team right now. So you just, this is the compromise that you have to come to. If I'm going to do this, I need you to be mindful that, like, I don't want to look up one day and see millions of dollars that have been wasted, and I'm spending more to cover you because of that.
Right. And you can get into a cycle of that. So I'm sorry, I interrupted your combine nuggets. So you gave us a nugget on Smith. We got a nugget on Bolton. You gave us one on Amenahu.
Yep.
Justin Reedy.
They really want, I will say this. I mean, this is not like necessarily a secret, but they really want Hollywood Brown back. They really do. And that's the only receiver I can say that about. So, I guess
they don't want Justin Watson back? I mean, after all, they gave him more snaps than Hollywood Brown, so you'd think.
Seth, you also have to remember that Sky Moore's already on the roster, so they don't have to want him back for him to be kind of wide receiver 3 next year.
That's why I was confused. That's on me. That's
Yeah,
my bad. So they want Hollywood Brown back.
Yeah, if they retain Hollywood Brown, they would consider that a win in free agency. Much similar to what they did last year. I know people are asking about Ronnie Stanley again, due to age, injury history, and this is a game of musical chairs, kids. As I texted the fellas on whatever it was, Thursday or Friday, I was like, look, Donovan Smith, can we talk to Donovan Smith? Can we talk to DJ Humphries? Obviously you can. Obviously the Chiefs have. Like, not a surprise. But when it comes to Ronnie Stanley, how many of those musical chairs are actually going to be available during free agency? And when free agency literally starts on Monday. And I think that's interesting because it could dictate some of his market to a degree to where I am interested as to, like, hey, that's a very good player. But again, you're trying to project how much can he give you next year? How much can he give you in future years? I don't believe Ronnie Stanley's ready for a 1-year deal. But if he feels like that's a way to reset his market, I guess, one could argue someone did that with the Kansas City Chiefs just a few years ago, but they got franchise tagged. So,
Man, that was awesome.
Just keep that in mind. Just keep Ronnie Stanley in mind, because what happens with him will be very informative in addition to what the Chiefs are trying to do, which is, I think, kids, it's the last nugget. Kids, this goes for you, Tucker. Stop it with the Luther Burden. Actually, I have 2 more nuggets. Stop with the Luther.
I was indulging the Luther Burden thing.
Oh man, I thought
I
was out here with the unpopular takes.
Guys, I watched Luther Burden all last season. That guy is good. Stop it.
Oh, you're saying he won't fall to 31?
I don't know if he look. I don't know if he will. I think it's a little bit intriguing that we cannot take mock drafts in March seriously, guys. Free agency hasn't even happened. Okay. I don't want to say the thing out loud because I want you to click. I always want you to click. Help my brothers get their clicks off. Okay. But it's March 4th. Get it out your mind when it comes to Luther Burden. Get it out of your mind. There are 31 other teams. He might not be at 4. He might not be at 31. It's okay. It happens. As you understand, the Chiefs have other issues. Okay.
And the other thing, let me just help people out here.
And no money.
I've watched a little of Burton's film. He looks,
what's his name?
He looks real good.
Luther Burden.
I thought you called him Burton just then.
Did I? Oh.
Yeah.
He looks really good. I will say his skill set. I think he's got the skill set for an outside X receiver, but I think he's at his best in the Rashee Rice role.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's perfect.
Yeah.
And so having 2 guys there.
Hey, Seth, are you new here?
You're right.
that he can either be built like Rashee Rice or he can be 5'10", 175. Those are the 2 receivers the Chiefs employ. And then also Juju Smith-Schuster.
We learned last week that Luther Burden, I believe, is 6 foot. Is that correct? We learned that
I think he's over that.
Right at 6 foot. They stretched him out as far as they could. 6 foot.
And if they think he can play on the boundary and do some of the X receiver stuff, I think he probably can. But it would be an interesting stylistic fit with Rice and Xavier Worthy, who also excelled in some of that short, close line scrimmage stuff. Like, you got to throw beyond 10 yards eventually. Like,
look, all I'm saying is, looks good, guys. He looks real good. Stop
he does
it.
look really good.
Stop
I wouldn't
it.
be upset. I'm
mostly
team
saying
draft a
that out of-
receiver in the first round every year.
Yeah,
and
right.
Luther Bird
It's so
looks like
much
one
fun.
of the best they'd have.
I get it.
Yeah.
It's so much fun.
Yeah.
Guys, we got to stop. Okay. Here's what I would tell you. This last nugget. Ladies and gentlemen, I now have some positions that you should actually look at for the 2025 NFL draft.
Oh, thank God, because I need someone for the Know Your Draft Crush series.
It's called defensive line.
Yep.
Running back.
Yeah.
Cornerback.
I think that'll fix the offensive line.
Now, you're asking me, Josh, why do you say offensive line? Well, again, just like last year, some things will have to matriculate in a manner that you cannot foresee, or in a situation where it's so unlikely that they basically need the offensive line version of Trent McDuffie. Can you guarantee me the offensive line version of Trent McDuffie to fall to like 24, 25?
Yeah.
You want me to go further? 27? Is anybody going to pick up your phone call? I don't know. Are you going to give up picks next year? Well, that's a Clark Hunt decision. Have I broken your spirit yet? Well, is that player falling to 20, let alone 22, 25, 27?
I'm going to give them hope again. Some people are commenting, these tackles have dinosaur arms. That's all accurate. Trent McDuffie, in part, fell to the Chiefs because he's got short arms and he's under 6 foot.
Correct.
Yeah, they also wouldn't have drafted him if he played tackle.
And so some of the...
Can you scoot over to the edge, Seth? I need you to scoot over to the edge of the frame.
Oh, this is the most terrible thing.
Poke your head out of the side. There we go. Thank you very much.
This is
Thanks
the
for
worst
being a
thing
part
you
of
guys
this episode of Only Weird Games here on KC Sports Network. This episode goes out to Seth Keysor, who turned 40 on Sunday and didn't tell anybody in his life about that fact. But you know what I always say? This queen makes 40 look fabulous. Gold
fabulous.
I don't even remember what I was saying.
Thank God.